Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. Today we are going to do the narrative writing. This is the learning objective for our today's lesson to be able to narrate a story with proper beginning, middle, and ending. So, what is a narrative? A narrative is a form of writing that tells a story. It can be either a fiction or a non fiction story. Sometimes there is a narrator, a character, or series of characters who tell the story. Narratives are not only the stories, but it can be the essays, fairy tales, movies, and jokes. Keep this thing in your mind that narratives have five elements: plot, setting, character, conflict, and theme. When all these five things join together, they form a narrative. Writers use narrator style, chronological order, a point of view, and other strategies to tell the story. You know, telling stories is an ancient art that started long before humans invented writing. So, telling stories is invented before writing. People tell stories when they gossip, tell jokes, or talk about the past. And written forms of narration include most forms of writing. It can be personal essays, fairy tales, short stories, novels, plays, screenplays, autobiographies, histories, even news stories have a narrative. Narratives may be a sequence of events in chronological order, or it can be flashbacks or multiple timelines. And what is a chronological order? A chronological order in which the things are arranged in the order that things happened or came to be. So now we move to the narrative elements. Every narrative has five elements as we have already discussed. Now we will look into the detail of these elements. And these five elements define and shape the narrative: plot, setting, character, conflict, and theme. These elements are revealed to the readers in the story in subtle or not subtle way, but the writer needs to understand the elements to assemble her story, her or his story. I have given here an example from your novel Room 13 that is the part of your curriculum for your better understanding about these five elements of narrative writing. The plot. What is the plot? The plot is the sequence of events that occur in a story. Here we take the example of Room 13, and Room 13 plot is about a girl who has a nightmare and it comes true on her visit to Whitby. That girl is Fliss, who with her class go to a hotel at Whitby for a trip for a week, and a girl called Ellie Mae keeps going into this room, which is a cupboard by day, but room 13 by night. Fliss, Lisa, Gary, and Trot stop Ellie Mae from going in room 13, and when she comes out, Ellie Mae is sick, and everyone kills the thing that is making Ellie Mae sick. So, plot is all about the sequence of events, the thread of events that occur in a story. Now, come to the setting. The setting is the location of the events in time and place. It means where the story is taking place, what is the place, and when the story is taking place. So, room 13, the events take place at Crow's Nest Hotel, Whitby, during night time when the students are on a recreational tour. Every narrative also has characters. The characters are the people in the story who drive the plot. The characters in room 13 include Fliss, her roommates, her friends at hotel resolving the issue, and even her parents who are only mentioned in the story but still are impacted by the situation and in turn impact Fliss' decision to go with the trip. Fliss teachers Mr. Hepworth, Mrs. Evans, and Mrs. Marriott, Mr. and Mrs. Wilkinson, who are the owner of the Crow's Nest Hotel, Old Cell, and the Vampire, all are the characters of the novel. The conflict. What is the conflict in the story? The conflict is the problem that is being resolved. Plots need a moment of tension, which involves some difficulty that requires resolution. And what is the conflict? What is the tension in room 13? The conflict in room 13 is that Fliss and her fellows need to figure out how to stop Ellie from entering the linen cupboard, which turns into room 13 at midnight, and eventually they find a solution of the problem. Most important thing in a story is the theme of the story. So what is the moral of the story? What does the writer intend the reader to understand? As you know, Room 13 is a spooky book, is a horror story that makes you turn the page and read on, and if it were a film, it would keep you on the edge of your seat. How we construct the plot, how we structure the plot of the story. As you know, the plot is the sequence of events that take place in a story. There are also five elements in the structure of the plot. First is the introduction. That is the information that the writer gives you at the start of the story. Then, what is the next step? Rising action. Event in the rising action that draws you in as the reader, that takes your attention, that grabs your attention. Then comes the climax of the story, the most exciting or suspenseful part of the story. Then what comes at the phone number? Falling action, the continuing action after the conflict has been resolved. And then the last element of the plot structure is resolution. The resolution is the ending of the story, the conclusion of the story. Does this part of the story make you feel? Now we move forward to the assignment. I have given you a picture prompt here for your narrative writing. You have to construct a fairy tale, and what you have to keep in your mind while writing down this story, this narrative. Once upon a time, far, far away, there was a tiny kingdom that floated high above the clouds. You can see in this picture the kingdom floated high above in the sky. Create a fairy tale that is set in this city. So you have been told about the setting of the story. What would be the advantages to riding the winds? What would be the problems? Who would live here? What problems would they have? Remember one thing more about this, that fairy tales involve magic and end with happily ever after. So, this is all about your imagination. How do you create this fairy tale, keeping in mind all the elements of a narrative writing? So, it's all about our today's lesson. I hope you will enjoy writing this, constructing this story that is just based on your imagination. Have a nice day. Thank you.